What are the customer feedback mechanisms you use to determine your value and pricing besides closing costs and cancellations? Um, Obviously, surveys and reviews are an important part of it. But I truly believe that just measuring attrition and your closing ratio is a massive indicator of value and customer service. Is the only things that matter. Because surveys can be manipulated. When you give them the survey, how fast after the service is completed. Like, there's so many little fine details that make a survey with the response rate. Most surveys, people will only respond if they're in the extraneous ends of the bell curve, either really mad or really, really happy. So you miss out on this huge, massive in between, which is the bulk of your customers. And we talked about this at Command Center, for example. Like, well, should we have where people have a survey after the phone call, and then that is somehow tied into the way that we pay the person on the phone as a rep? The thing is, again, you're not like, when was the last time you stayed on the phone after talking to a phone like a phone rep and you did the survey? I guarantee you it's less than 0.25% of people. I've never, ever, ever, ever stayed on a phone call when it says like, there's a survey after this. And I'm like, I'm out. Sorry, just not doing it. And so what that means is I'm probably in that middle of the bell curve. The only people you're going to get are really, really hot, really mad at you, or the ones that just love the person to death for some reason, right? And the majority of your revenue is coming from people who are not even getting surveyed. So I rely on the numbers of the and the math of close ratio. That's going to determine my value, and then my retention or attrition. Same, it's just the inverse, right? So attrition, very commonly in lawn care and landscaping, is between 20 and 30%, just because people pass away, people move, they sell their house, whatever it might be. But if that becomes 60% all of a sudden, very good chance you have a problem with not the funnel, like the top of the funnel. You might have plenty of good closing ratio coming in. That's the value prop, but then you can't deliver. If your customer service is bad, if you're doing a horrible job, etc., then that's going to relate to a bad attrition. So I look at it as like funnel and sales and bringing more customers. And the value proposition is simply tied to the closing ratio. It's the number one thing I look at. And then in terms of retaining, like, you can't have holes in the bucket and keep pouring money into the bucket, pouring more customers in, more lead, like all the top, and then have the leaky bucket, all these holes, and losing customers every single week, every single month, every single year, and have a bad attrition rate. Anything over a 35% attrition rate, I start to get afraid of. And anything under a 30% closing rate, I get concerned about too.